You turn the key on, nothing. No crank, no click, just silence. Most drivers panic and start replacing expensive parts, but here's the twist. Over half of no-start cases come from hidden issues almost no one checks. Mechanics see these constantly, yet 70% of car owners overlook them. In this video, we're counting down 7 silent culprits that can stop your engine dead even when your battery's fine. And the number 2 reason is something most drivers never suspect, but it can leave your car completely lifeless overnight. Number 7. Blown fuse or bad relay in the starting circuit. One often overlooked cause of a no-crank situation is a blown fuse or faulty relay that cuts power in the starting circuit. Modern vehicles have fuses and relays for the starter and ignition systems. If a starter relay or a related fuse has failed, turning the key may do nothing at all, no click and no crank, because the electrical signal never reaches the starter motor. As an auto service guide notes, a blown fuse in the starter circuit could be the cause of a no-start problem. Similarly, a bad starter relay will prevent the starter from engaging. Average drivers rarely suspect fuses or relays, so this cause is easily missed. Yet, it's a simple fix if identified. Replace the burned-out fuse or bad relay, and you're back in business. If you've checked the battery and starter and still get absolutely no cranking, take a look at your fuses/relays for the starting system. It's an easy thing to check that could save you a tow truck bill. Number 6. Faulty immobilizer system. Today's cars in the US are usually equipped with an anti-theft immobilizer, a system that can prevent the engine from starting if it doesn't recognize the key or if it suspects a theft attempt. This can silence your starter entirely. In other words, a triggered security system may lead to no crank at all. Mechanics list an engaged anti-theft system among common no-crank causes. Many drivers don't realize that something as simple as using the wrong key, a damaged transponder chip in the key, or even a key fob with a dead battery can trigger the immobilizer and prevent the car from cranking. Why it's overlooked. If you're unaware of the anti-theft system status, you might chase battery or starter problems while the car is actually electronically locked out. A telltale sign is a security indicator light on the dashboard. If that's blinking or on, the car thinks it's being stolen and won't allow a start. In this case, the fix may be as simple as using your backup key or reprogramming the key. Always check that your key is recognized by the car. It's a commonly ignored reason for a no-crank scenario. Number 5. Malfunctioning clutch switch. If your car is automatic, it has a neutral safety switch that only allows the car to start in park or neutral. If it's a manual, there's a clutch pedal switch that requires the clutch be fully depressed to start. These safety interlocks are great until they malfunction or get misaligned, which can fool the car into thinking it's in gear. When that happens, you turn the key and nothing crank at all, just as if you were trying to start the drive. A faulty neutral safety switch is a known cause of crank no-start problems. In fact, a car that won't crank in park but does crank in neutral is a classic sign of this issue. Why it's misunderstood. Many drivers have never heard of this switch, so when it fails, they're left scratching their heads. It's often overlooked because people assume something major is wrong, whereas it could be just this sensor preventing the starter from engaging. To diagnose, you can try shifting to neutral and then starting, or on a manual, press the clutch firmly. If the car starts in neutral but not park, the neutral safety switch may need adjustment or replacement. Similarly, a worn clutch pedal switch can intermittently cause no crank. Some drivers pump the clutch pedal thinking it's a fluke, not realizing the switch is on its way out. The good news is that replacing these switches is generally not very expensive once identified as the culprit. Number 4. Bad ignition switch. The ignition switch is the electrical part that your key or start button activates. It's the bridge between your key turn and the starter motor. If the ignition switch fails, power never gets sent to the starter solenoid, and the engine won't crank. You might turn the key and get dash lights, but the starter circuit is effectively dead. Ignition switches can wear out over time, especially on older vehicles with high mileage or heavy keychains dangling. A faulty ignition switch can mimic the symptoms of a dead battery or bad starter. For example, you turn the key and get no starter noise at all. It may also cause intermittent starting issues, which is confusing. Because it's largely hidden behind the lock cylinder or push button, the ignition switch is often misdiagnosed or overlooked. Drivers might replace the battery and starter only to find the car still won't crank due to a $30 switch hidden in the steering column. One clue is, if you had other weird electrical issues leading up to a no-start flickering accessories, or the engine stalling while driving can be a sign of an ignition switch failing. If you've ruled out the battery and starter, have a look at the ignition switch. It's a critical link in the chain that many forget about. Number 3. Loose or corroded battery connections. Corroded or loose battery terminals are one of the most overlooked causes of no-crank situations. Your battery itself might be perfectly fine, but if the cable clamps are loose or the terminals are covered in corrosion, the starter won't get enough current to crank the engine. A bad connection creates high electrical resistance. It might allow just enough power to dimly light the dash, but not enough to spin the starter motor. This often fools people. You turn the key, maybe hear a faint click, and assume the battery is okay because the lights work. In reality, the battery may be fully charged, but the current can't pass through the corroded or loose connection. Many drivers skip this check entirely and jump straight to blaming the battery or starter. Battery terminal corrosion acts like an insulator, blocking electricity. Likewise, a loose clamp or frayed cable can break the circuit. The fix is simple but often ignored. Clean the battery posts and cable ends thoroughly, and tighten the clamps until they're snug. Don't forget the negative ground connection where the battery cable attaches to the car's frame or engine. A loose or rusty ground will cause the same issue. This quick maintenance step restores full current flow and solves countless no-starts. It's a common culprit that nearly 70% of drivers overlook until shown how easy it is to spot and fix. Number 2. Bad solenoid. If your battery and connections check out, yet all you get is a click when turning the key, the starter motor could be the culprit. The starter is an electric motor that physically spins the engine to start it. Over time, its internal parts, brushes, bearings, solenoid contacts wear down or burn out. When that happens, even a fully charged battery can't get the engine turning. A common sign is one solid click each time you try to start, while your lights and radio still work normally. Sometimes there's no sound at all, just silence, with all accessories working fine. Many drivers assume this must be a dead battery, but that's a mistake. If a jump start doesn't help and your lights don't dim when you turn the key, the starter is likely failing. The starter solenoid can also fail. In most modern cars, the solenoid is built into the starter motor, so if one goes bad, you replace the whole unit. Mechanics often rank starters as the second most common no-crank cause after the battery. Because the starter is hidden deep in the engine bay, many drivers overlook it entirely. But once a car has 100,000 plus miles, starter failure becomes increasingly common. If everything else powers on but the engine won't crank, especially if you hear that click, the starter is likely at fault. Replacing the starter motor usually solves the problem and restores normal starting. Number 1. Weak or dead battery. The number one cause of a no-crank, no-start problem is almost always a dead or weak battery. Car batteries only last a few years, and extreme heat or cold shortens that lifespan even further. When a battery can't hold enough charge or has been drained, it won't deliver the high current needed to spin the starter motor. The result is simple. You turn the key, and either nothing happens, or you hear rapid clicking as the starter solenoid tries and fails to engage. Even a partially drained battery can do this. A common giveaway is when the dash lights or radio come on, but they dim or shut off as soon as you try to crank the engine. Many drivers misread this, thinking, the battery can't be dead if the lights work, but that's false. Lights and radios need very little power compared to the starter motor. Your battery might run accessories for hours while still lacking the amperage to crank the engine once. Another telltale sign is that clicking noise when you turn the key. That's the solenoid chattering from low voltage, basically the starter saying, I don't have enough power. If you hear rapid clicks and the engine won't turn over, the battery is almost always the culprit. The fix is straightforward. Try a jump start first, then have the battery tested under load. If it's old or fails the test, replace it. Also remember, long periods of disuse or cold weather can quietly drain a battery, so always check it first in any no-start situation.